All right. So today I'm going to be talking about Axon, which is a tool for groups of people or individuals to manage neurons. So here is the Axon website, axon.oo, and we are looking at one specific axon. So the name axon comes from biology, where an axon is a part of the brain that manages other neurons. And here you see that we have a bunch of neurons that are connected to this axon, and I can go ahead and send a bunch of commands to them. So this tool was originally designed for two main use cases. One is for DAOs to manage neurons, and the other is for seed investors. So let's take a look at these two different use cases. So for DAOs, we have a bunch of voting and proposal abilities here. So we see that these are the current token holders of this axon. So I'm holding 30,000 votes here, which is 30% of the voting power. And then there's 100,000 votes total. And so this is pretty basic, like governance token kind of stuff. Here we see the active policy. So this shows you what is possible via governance. So eligible proposers means that anyone who holds one of these governance tokens, meaning any one of these five principles, can create a proposal. Proposal requirement here shows that there's no minimum balance that you need to have. So if I wanted different roles, for example, where let's say only people above 10,000 votes could create a proposal, I would set a minimum here as 10,001, meaning like these three users over here would not be able to create a proposal. And here we see acceptance threshold, which is saying that we need at least 50% of all of the votes to be casted. And of those, we need 50% to be a yes vote in order for the proposal to pass. So these governance parameters are pretty flexible, and you can do different things with them depending on what they're set to. So how do we change these proposals, right? So let's say I did want to add a proposal requirement. So I could do that actually using the proposal process itself. So I would just go here to manage, and I would set the policy to, let's do proposer balance requirement, 10,000, and let's see what that does. So this is creating a Axon proposal, which says, okay, I want to change the policy to change to 10,000 tokens required to create a proposal, right? And then so what you're looking at here is a Axon proposal. So this is different from an NNS proposal. This Axon proposal exists only within the Axon application. So I, as the creator of this proposal, have already voted. So I have a 30% voting power here. And based on what we know about this particular Axon's configuration, we know that it needs 50% of all votes to be casted. So this is what the 50% quorum means. So once 20% voting power votes on this proposal, it will pass and then execute. And what does it do when it executes? Well, it simply changes its own governance policy to this new one right here. So, of course, I can cancel this if I change my mind. I can repeat it to just duplicate the action. This is a tool that's kind of like Gnosis Safe, which is a multi-sig wallet. So I can have groups of people that do a bunch of actions on a shared set of resources. So here we see that the proposal has been canceled. And yeah, so I can change the visibility of this particular axon if I wanted to make it private so that only the members, only the governance token holders can see this axon. I can do that here. If I wanted to, let's say, turn this into a community DAO, right, I could choose to mint a new, let's say I want to add 100,000 new governance tokens, and I can set a recipient on that. So if I do that, then this will create a proposal which says, okay, let's mint 100,000 more shares, and then we can figure out what to do with them later. Perhaps we can airdrop them to our community. Perhaps we can have a rewards mechanism, that sort of thing. So this proposal is saying, okay, I want to increase the supply from 100K to 200K. And again, this would have to go through the standard proposal process that is described by the governance parameters. So the other side of Axon is neuron management. And so this is shown down here. So right now it looks like we have 3 neurons that are added to this Axon. You'll see like manager and delegated. So Genesis neurons, right, seed neurons, they cannot have their controller changed. And also seed investors, they only have command line tools to be able to interact with their neurons. There's no NNS app. You can't import a seed neuron into the NNS app. It must be accessed via command line. However, the NNS also has another feature where you can manage those Genesis neurons via what's known as a hotkey. So a hotkey we can add here. A hotkey is simply, you can think of it as like a hot wallet, where the hot wallet can control other things, other neurons that are in a cold wallet. So we can use this in Axon to manage cold storage neurons, right, via this UI. So that second use case that I mentioned earlier, which is for seed investors, early contributors, they have a bunch of neurons, probably 31 or 49 neurons that are just sitting there in a command line. Perhaps they exist only on an air-gapped laptop that's not connected to the internet. And so it's a bit of a pain to actually manage those neurons. If you wanted to, let's say, spawn your rewards every week or so, you would have to go open at that computer, run a bunch of commands, copy them over, and then paste them in a different computer. And it's just a very tedious process. And what you can do with Axon is use this hotkey method. So here I call it like, a delegated neuron. You can use this method, run a bunch of DFX commands, and then add those cold storage neurons here. So we can see 2 of those here. So these, you can think of them as like seed neurons, Genesis neurons. They are managed by other neurons. So this is a cold storage neuron that is delegated, is managed by a different neuron. What that does is it allows me to issue commands directly to this cold storage neuron, right, without having to go through that whole process of sending DFX commands and then copying them and whatever. So I would just simply manage, and I can do everything that I could do with the command line. So if I wanted this to start dissolving, for example, I could do that, right? Just a click of a button, and this creates an Axon proposal. And remember, the Axon proposal goes through the standard Axon governance process, which is here 50% of votes are required, and upon reaching that quorum, upon reaching the required amount of votes, then this NNS command, right, this manage neuron command would execute. And then the result of that would be to tell this neuron to start dissolving. So this is very useful for seed donors because they have so many different neurons to manage, right? So you could add all of your seed neurons, right, 49 of them, they would all show up here. And then you could, issue a whole bunch of commands to them. You could see when they're about to mature and send and disperse those rewards. And you can configure, let's say you wanted to add someone else as a, let's say you wanted to add your accountant as a viewer of your neurons. You could do that by simply adding them as a member of your Axon, and then giving them, let's say, 1 token where they can't create proposals. So they can't do anything with the neurons, but they can still view your data. And then so this way you can get a different access control on your neurons. So that's pretty much it for the basic functionality. If you wanted to create your own Axon, you would just go to axon.000 and click on this, and there's different scenarios. So like if you just wanted to experiment and manage some of your own neurons, you could do that. If you wanted to create a community DAO where you have a follow target and you try to vote differently and you try to gain followers, you could use that. You could do that here. So we at Cycle DAO have our own Axon. This is the Cycle DAO Axon that we are broadcasting. We're trying to get people to follow our neuron. And the way we manage it is, these are our members, and we vote on how this neuron will act. So we could change our following. Say we can follow the ICA for this particular topic, and then we would have to go through our own governance process in order to manage this neuron. So this is a way for the public to verify what we're doing, to verify that we are voting appropriately, and to see what we're doing, like who our members are, that sort of thing. This gives accountability, verifiability, transparency. I imagine in the future there will be plenty of different groups and entities that are essentially political parties. They're trying to vote differently. They're trying to act in their own self-interests and trying to gain followers. And I hope that tools like Axon can help that process. The more independent parties there are, the better for the health of the ecosystem, as it increases decentralization. It increases diversity of thought, and these are all good things. And so that's pretty much it. The Axon source code is available down here. So if you wanted to build on top of Axon, you are free to contribute to Axon. If you wanted to, let's say spin off your own DAO framework, let's say you wanted to do some cool voting system like quadratic voting or stacked rank voting, you could just come in here and fork it and just launch your own DAO framework from this base code. So with that, I will leave it, and I encourage everybody to take a look at Axon, maybe create an Axon, play around with it, maybe add some neurons, and just try it out. And if you wanted to build DAO tooling, Axon has some code that can be extended. And feel free to reach out with any questions, feedback, feature requests, that sort of thing. All right, thank you for your time.